Alright, so with that, my throat has managed to clear up since yesterday for the most part, so I won't be sounding almost like I'm workshopping my hard-boiled detective voice. Meaning I can now get to a discussion on next year's reboot of Superman, and it can also be called Superman Legacy, Superman 2025, James Gunn's Superman, or whatever you want to call it. It will be much like how the last continuity started with the reboot of this franchise. The new one will be following suit, which, though, it's definitely going to be a very different experience, much like how the last one was, so let's begin. Won't be going over all the details that have been coming out from the filming they've been doing in both Cleveland as well as London, and nor some details about the script that have been leaking out as well. But I will go over the ones that stood out at me personally. I may not be inherently familiar with the character Mr. Terrific, but that's why I'm actually kind of liking this approach, because the way they built it up, it makes you intrigued to find out more. Not every single thing before the movie comes out, obviously. I still want to leave some room to explore more, as I often do. And I also note that I'm also liking the design of the suits, who don't even mind playing like the red shorts being back, because again, and apparently that aspect, even in the comics, was actually based off like the old-timey strongman outfits they wore when they did things like lift weights or wrestle. So it's not a total stretch, man. And even like the design of like the S sigil on the chest is also pretty unique, and tonally and structurally is also taking inspiration from key storylines such as Morrison's Ulster Superman, one of my favorite incarnations. The character also had a very good anime adaptation, and also the Kingdom Come event by Wade, who, even though I don't feel as strongly about his remarks as other people do, at least understand where they're coming from, and I definitely got into this field to talk about things going on in the field, not to make like hour-long on screeds against them personally. And I'm also enjoying how that they're planting the seeds of other characters for the new continuity, being Isabel Merced as Hawkgirl, and Nathan Fillion as the Guy Gardner variant of Green Lantern. Like, he was a popular fan cast for Hal Jordan's version, and in the previous decade, he was not chosen, but I am glad he's in it. Helps also worked with James before, or on not just Volume 3, obviously, but also like one of his smaller films, like the cult classic Super, which I will be covering before this reboot comes out in the near future. And also just seeing like a practical comic accurate costume is much preferable to the infamous CG of the 2011 version. There are instances where digital suits or at least ones that digital augments can work. That was not one of them. At more than one point in my life, as well as even just doing stuff here, people have often asked a question about what is a character like Superman in a more uncertain world, especially one where the pop culture consciousness has seen the emergence of the likes of multiple different versions of Batman, multiple different versions of Spider-Man, and 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 now what's said to be more incarnations of the X-Men, to say nothing of other or IP that have come into place as the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. I think one solution I have admittedly liked is to get that question into the story, where and also kind of liking how that they're not going to be above embracing the more absurd elements from the Golden and Silver Age storylines, and as well as bringing the concept to the modern age. I mean, it is even the little details I've seen from them filming are kind of like the new cartoon they've been showing on a much larger scale. In terms of, yes, he is very much like a big flying brick doofus in some ways, but he's our big flying handbrick doofus, and we love him. And with that in mind, they are still going to clearly be depicting a serious situation on screen, as such, which is totally fine with me. And that's also why that's one of the most common occurring threads. Like what you really do to hurt him is to go after the ones he cares for. On Earth, and it definitely also makes sense to me that even the cartoons leaning into similarities that Clark has with Goku and now All Might. In fact, I've often made the case that All Might and Midoriya have, in a way, managed to capture the idea of Superman that's close to how I would, personally. I'm definitely also caught up with the manga of MHA as that's ending, and I can now officially start season 7 because they're on break this week. I'm also just kind of also amused by the casting of these new variants, the characters, like how it turns out that both David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan and previously auditioned for the roles of Clark and Lois in the last reboot. They ultimately were not chosen, and so in a way I'm glad that they did not let the experience deter them at all from trying again. And I'm not really familiar with Cornsweet, but he does seem to be more than qualified for the job, I would say. And Brosnahan also has had some small film parts, as well as a big hit on the marvelous Miss Maisel on Prime, a series I have not watched, but I've heard very good things about. At least, that's the drawback to Peak TV. It's not just the messes I have to pass up because of my playlist. There's a lot of quality out there. And as for the people in the last incarnation, I think they'll be fine. Amy Adams is still active and still getting steady work, and as is Henry Cavill. I also hope that he's managed to avoid the urban legend about the curse, because he had steady work on film and on stage before, and also has built up more connections afterwards, like having recently starred in Guy Ritchie's historical action film, The Mystery and Germany Warfare, and also is producing, writing, and about to star in an adaptation of the hit game Warhammer 40k. I'm very eager to see him, especially if he gets to purge some heretics, but I get ahead of myself here. Bottom line, even though there are some skeptics out there, as there usually are, there are some in basically any fandom I've been a part of in my life, and I try not to let it get to me, especially with other projects I wanna get caught up on now that I'm back. Heck, but much like the comic books they're based on, their adaptations have gone through a similar kind of of pop culture journey of peaks and valleys. Like you have your high highs, your low lows, and your middling middles. And I definitely am a person who's not have a preference of a studio or source material. I want to see both DC and Marvel be successful for their own reasons, and I definitely makes sense. Like the whole Gods and Monsters pitch that James and Peter are approaching. That they not only working on want to have big names like Superman, Batman, and 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 also hear talk about the Teen Titans as well, but also ones that aren't as well known to more general audiences like the Creature Commandos, and the Authority. Heck, I never thought I'd live in a time where I'd be excited for a show about Kite Man of all characters, yet here we are. For all its fails, I really can't imagine it being worse than Superman 4 The Quest for Peace, which I definitely give the people in the cast like the You Tried, Gold Star, or but I still think in many ways it's kind of like the American version of the infamous Puma Man. Seriously, go watch episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000 if you haven't seen it yet. It's incredible. Anyway, that'll be all for now. I'll see you all again soon. Take care, everyone.